Welcome all of you to History Mania. This is the NEVA's mains PYQ discussion. Here we are with the second history topic, which is Krishnadeva Raya. UPSC has asked a question in 2016 on Krishnadeva Raya, the most famous king of Vijayanagara dynasty. So you can expect a question on both the dynasty as well as the king in future as well, because it is a very potential and very important topic when it comes to Indian history, especially in the context of art and culture. So let's decipher the question. Krishnadeva Raya, the king of Vijayanagar, was not only an accomplished scholar, that's the first catch, but was also a great patron of learning and literature. Discuss. Here the keyword is to discuss, so you have the flexibility to discuss this topic in your own favor. It doesn't ask you to evaluate between both these aspects, it asks you to discuss. So you can structure your answer as per your convenience. The only thing is you have to bring down a lot of dimensions because the flexibility is there. Now look at the two key parts of the question. First, it is about Krishnadeva Raya being an accomplished scholar himself. So this is about his accomplishments. Second, it is about his patronage. Now the two structures or the two dimensions of the question can be deciphered from the question itself. One is about his own accomplishments and second is about his patronage. Now it is about how much content you can bring in and how innovatively it can present these two dimensions. Now, when we talk about history questions, I have told in the other video as well, you always try to locate that question in its larger historical context. So history is a vast sea. You have to pinpoint in which space and in which time this particular king or this particular dynasty is located. Now, that is how you are going to frame the introduction here. Look at the time period of Krishnadeva Raya. It spans from 1509 to 1530. So if you can bring in this time period of Krishnadeva Raya, it will be a good introduction. You are bringing that value to your introduction. Now, the question itself talks about Vijayanagara dynasty. So it is not a new addition to your answer. You can specifically talk about the specific dynasty that Krishnadeva Raya was part of, which is the Tuluva. The Vijayanagara dynasty itself had 3-4 houses within it. One is the Tuluva, which is mentioned here. One is the Aravidu. One is the Saluva. But the most famous of all this is Krishnadeva Raya's Tuluva dynasty. So you can mention Tuluva here. It will add more value to your introduction. Then comes the space. So I have given a map here. You can see that the capital of the Krishnadeva Raya's Vijayanagara dynasty was Hampi. And this is the span of this dynasty. It spanned over almost all of South India. But the capital or the central area or the core region is located around Karnataka region. And every major dynasty has a river which follows its base. If we take the oldest dynasties of Magadha, it is around the Ganga Valley in Pataliputra. Or if you take the Mughal dynasty or the Delhi Sultanate, you have Yamuna as a central figure. Just like that, this is a dynasty that is around Tungabhadra river. So if you can bring in the terminology Tungabhadra to your introduction, it's well and good. Or you have an option of mentioning the various titles that this particular king had. Kannada Raya, Kannada Rajya Rama Ramana, Andhra Bhoja. This title is very important because this title denotes his patronage towards literature and learning. So at least you should try to bring in this particular title in the introduction. So if you can bring in all these factors, it will be an excellent introduction. Otherwise, try to bring in at least 2 of the 4. Now let's move to the body. As I said, the structure will be along these 2 aspects. The question talks about that. We have to establish that he was a scholar and we have to justify that he was a great patron as well. Now, what are his scholarly works? You can follow various frameworks to divide his scholarly works. You can divide it as per the titles of the works that he has done or in the nature of the works he has done. That's your convenience because the question only asks you to discuss. Here we have followed a template where we have divided his works in terms of the languages, so that we have developed a framework for ourselves. When we take Sanskrit, he has written 3 major works. One is Jambodi Kalyanam, Usha Parinayam and Rasa Manjari. Now whatever I have marked in red here, these are the important keywords. These are the words that you have to bring in your answer to add value to it. Now see, Jambodi Kalyanam, Usha Parinayam, Rasa Manjari, at least bring one of it under the head of Sanskrit. Now come to Telugu. The major work is Amuktya Malyada. The theme of this work is a Vishnu and Andal wedding. Andal is a major Bhakt figure in the tradition of Bhakti. She was a Vaishnava saint. You can bring in the story if you have the time to elaborate a little bit on this. Then when it comes to Kannada, Krishnadeva maintained a personal diary of his, which is very famous. Diary is termed as Krishnadeva Dinachari. If you can't remember this name, at least mention that his personal diary is one of the proficient works of himself in Kannada. Now you can see that, and Tulu is his mother tongue, in which he was very proficient. Now this itself reflects the proficiency of the particular king in different languages. So he was a scholar himself. He is someone whom we can call the philosopher king because of his proficiency over various subjects. So any framework you can follow. Here we have followed the language framework. Now come to the second part. Now we have to establish that he was a patron of learning and literature. The first keyword, something that marks Krishnadeva Raya, something that comes straight after your prelims knowledge, is the term Ashtadigajas. Now most of the famous kings, be it Akbar or be it Chandragupta Vikramaditya, they maintained a specific number of people in their court. For Chandragupta Vikramaditya, it was Navaratnas. For Krishnadeva Raya, it was Ashtadigajas. Even Shivaji had something like this in his court. And the most famous of the Ashtadigaja was Allasadi Pennanna. And this name has to come in your answer because this person is considered as the godfather of Andhra poetry. He is called Kavita Pidamaha. Kavita means poetry and Pidamaha means godfather. His most famous work is Manucharitam. So Allasadi Pennanna's name should come under the head of Ashtadigajas. At least Allasadi Pennanna's name should come. When it comes to the other names, the most famous of it is Tenali Ramakrishna, someone who is known for his wit, humor and brainy interventions. He is an equivalent of Birbal when it comes to the king Akbar. So you can mention that name as well. Now the second contribution that he has made is towards a famous work called Kannada Mahabharata. So this work was started not during his spirit, but it was completed during his spirit. So Krishnadeva Raya was the king who completed, during whose reign this particular work was completed. So you can mention that. Now when it comes to temples, this temple, the most famous Vijayanagara temple, Vittalaswamy temple. Now how do we connect it to literature and learning? Because what Krishnadeva Raya did was, he adorned the walls of these temples with literary works. And most famous of them is Ramayana and Mahabharata, the epics. So the temples, including Vittalaswamy temple, has their walls adorned with literature, including the epics, which is Ramayana and Mahabharata mainly. So that reflects upon the patronage that the king had towards learning and literature. Now when it comes to music, he is the king under which the Carnatic music reached its zenith, and the king gave a lot of contribution to the development of this particular field of music. When we talk about Indian music, we have two major branches. One is the Hindustani version and the other is the Carnatic music. And the Carnatic music flourished under the reign of Krishnadeva Raya. When it comes to dance, Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi which is based in present-day Andhra Pradesh, because Andhra Pradesh also comes under the reign of Krishnadeva Raya in ancient times, in medieval times. Bharatanatyam is marked as an art form, a dance form that is based around the state of Tamil Nadu at present, and that was also given patronage by Krishnadeva Raya. On a whole, you can say that the most of the wealth of the king was reserved for promotion of scholarship. Now see on how many different dimensions we have generated points. We have started with the Ashtadigajas. He has maintained a good number of intelligent and scholarly people in his court. That's the first point. And then we came to important works like Kannada Mahabharata. We came to temples, music, dance, and on a whole, the wealth of the king itself. Now that will be enough to deal with one particular subsection of the question. Both the subsections will add a lot of value to your answer. Now finally coming to the conclusion, you have different ways of concluding this answer. You can argue that Krishnadeva Raya was a renowned scholar and a great patron at the same time, and his works and his scholarly contributions were remarked or highlighted by travelers like Domingo Paez and Durate Barbosa. This is two keywords that you can bring to your answer. Or you can say that because of the contributions or the efforts of the king Krishnadeva Raya, the city of Hampi, which is the capital of the Vijayanagara dynasty, was declared as a site of national importance in 1979. So these are few ways through which you can bring value to a conclusion, make it loaded with keywords. So I hope the value additions given in this particular discussion will help you to tackle a question on Krishnadevaraya and the Vijayanagara Empire in future. So that's it. We'll meet again with yet another question of history in History Mania Mains PYQ discussion. Thank you for listening.